Before the darkness arrived, there was a time when the community of Zithulele in the Free State province was a place where humanity lived freely, where you could feel love in the air long before you saw it on people's faces. It was a place where neighbors behaved like family, and where the suffering of one person was a burden carried by all. Life flowed with a gentle rhythm, one built on unity, cooperation, and sincerity. No one rejoiced when another felt pain. No one went to sleep with a hungry stomach without someone knocking at their door offering bread, salt, or a warm plate. Holidays were the crown of their joy. December was the season that felt like a festival of hearts. People who worked far away, in mines, factories, hospitals and cities, returned home to their families. The air smelled of dried meat, home-baked bread and fresh beginnings. Children ran barefoot on the soil, laughing, chasing one another between yards, free and fearless. Elders sat under the shade of the big Marawela tree, exchanging memories with warmth in their voices. Back then, the municipality played its part with dignity. At the end of each year, they gave food parcels, clothes, and blankets to families. On a chosen day, the entire community gathered in the open field for a year-end celebration. Everyone brought something: a pot of pap, homemade achar, music, chairs, and stories. It was the one day when you could feel the village breathing as one heartbeat. And for that moment, the world felt safe. Easter was another sacred healing in the midst of life's storms. All churches, Methodist, Zion, Catholic, and small backyard congregations, came together for fellowship. The singing echoed through the fields like a prayer carried by the wind. People didn't just go to church, they were revived by the love shared there. The message was always the same: humanity first. Respect wasn't taught, it was lived. Safety wasn't requested, it was guaranteed. Crime was something told in stories, like myths from faraway towns. Not in Zithulele, not here. Streets were clean, streetlights shone bright, clinics were open, functional, stocked with medication. The elderly collected their medication with ease. Pregnant women were cared for, young mothers were supported. The simple dignity of life was protected. But something shifted over the years. Slowly, quietly, dangerously, it crept in like an unseen shadow, swallowing everything that once made Zithulele beautiful. Evil entered through the cracks of power. Some say greed arrived first, others say jealousy, but no one can truly explain how darkness found a home in the hearts of a few officials. All they know is that once corruption took its first breath, the community began to suffocate. The gifts stopped, the gatherings stopped, the joy stopped. The taps that once flowed proudly began to cough out dust. Water shortages were blamed on climate change, even when the dams stood full. But everyone whispered one truth: if there is no crisis, no tender can be created. So a crisis was manufactured. Streetlights dimmed one by one until the night became a hiding place for fear. The same roads that sparkled under the sun became trenches filled with water, mud, and danger. Children could no longer play outside. Cars got stuck in potholes deeper than the tires themselves. Clinics were shut due to lack of funds or because the population is too small. But the queues outside the remaining clinic were longer than ever. Patients waited from dawn to sunset, only to be told medication was out of stock again. Municipal officials who once walked shoulder to shoulder with the people were now seen only on television, wearing suits, shaking hands with dignitaries, smiling while their people cried in the shadows of their neglect. Then came the worst of it. Refuse bins, once emptied twice a week, stood overflowing for months. The stench of rotting waste became part of the air, a cruel perfume of abandonment. And with time, those bins became hiding places for horrors no one could have imagined. Abandoned babies, murdered bodies, and all the crimes that thrive when there is no light. Only darkness. The sewage that once flowed underground now leaked openly through the streets. Children slipped, fell, and some drowned in pits the municipality refused to close. Mothers buried their babies because officials refused to act. Fathers stood at funerals with fists shaking, knowing justice would never come. Reports were made over and over. Videos were taken. Community members pleaded. They begged. They demanded. But the answer was always the same. Silence. Silence. And arrogance. Those who tried to rise up and fight were met with threats. Some were bribed. Others were broken. A few were silenced forever. Still, some community members tried to repair what they could, fixing blocked drains with their own hands, painting their community hall, trying to fill potholes with stones and soil. But what could a handful of struggling residents do against a system built to fail them? Families still cry for justice for their drowned children. Mothers still fetch water from polluted streams. Elders still walk long distances to overcrowded clinics. And the officials, they sleep comfortably behind high walls, surrounded by security, untouched by the pain they create. Zithulele, once the home of peace, unity, and love, had become a place where innocence died not from crime alone, but from a system that chose corruption over humanity, greed over life, and silence over justice. After years of watching Zithulele collapse, people began to realize something even more painful than the broken roads, dry taps, and sewage rivers. The suffering was not an accident, it was intentional. Corruption had not only stolen resources, it had stolen humanity. It had eaten the soul of the community piece by piece, until even hope felt like a luxury. The first tragedy that shook the whole township happened in midsummer, during the school holidays. A group of children were playing near the flooded ditch behind the old community hall. That ditch used to be a stormwater drain. It had a proper cement cover years ago, but the cover had collapsed long ago due to neglect. The municipality promised for 2 years to fix it, but instead the budget disappeared, swallowed by tenders awarded to friends who never appeared on site. That day, little Thapelo, only 4 years old, slipped while chasing a ball. The water was dark, thick, and deep. By the time his cousin screamed, it was too late. His small body was pulled out 15 minutes later. The community cried with a pain that could be felt in the bones. His mother, Masechaba, fainted the moment she saw her child. His father punched the air, the earth, the walls, anything to escape the truth. When they reported the death to municipal officials, the answer was cold and sharp. Parents must watch their children. It's not our responsibility. No apology, no visit, no human acknowledgement. A life lost, dismissed like nothing. But Thapelo wasn't the last. A few months later, Sibongile, a 13-year-old girl, disappeared while walking home from choir practice. The streetlights had been dead for years, and darkness had become the new ruler of Zithulele. Her parents reported her missing, but the police said, "We do not have enough vehicles. Come back tomorrow." By the next afternoon, it was too late. She was found in one of the garbage dumping fields, bruised, violated, discarded like rubbish. Her community begged for justice. They signed petitions. They marched. But the councillors were too busy. The police had no leads, and the system had no capacity. Sibongile's mother still sets a plate for her at dinner. She still sleeps with the bedroom light on, hoping her daughter will walk through the door. Until this day, no one has been arrested. The injustice was not only in crime, it was in the silence, the refusal to care, the constant reminder that the poor meant nothing to those in power. People started to fight back in the only ways they could. Residents filled potholes with stones. Teenagers dug trenches to redirect sewage water away from their houses. Mothers woke up at 3 a.m. to fetch water from faraway streams. Young men patrolled the streets at night with sticks, trying to protect their sisters and mothers from criminals who grew bold in the darkness. But desperation breeds danger. One day, a group of residents blocked the municipal gate, demanding answers. They held placards written with trembling hands. "We need water. Fix the sewage. Children are dying. Do your job." The officials refused to come outside. Instead, they called the police. Tear gas filled the air where children were standing. Elders who once danced at year-end gatherings now ran coughing, eyes burning, hearts shattering. What crime had they committed? They only asked for water. They only asked for their children's lives to matter. The worst heartbreak came when the community realized that some among them had been turned into enemies. A small group of residents, desperate for money, became informants for corrupt officials. They reported anyone who spoke loudly, threatened activists, even sabotaged community cleanups. People who tried to fix broken drains were accused of interfering with municipal operations. A young man who led a peaceful march was beaten by unknown men the following night. A woman who reported a tender fraud received a message, "Stay quiet, you have children." Fear settled over Zithulele like permanent fog. The same unity that once held the community together now cracked under the weight of division, threats, and poverty. People became suspicious of one another. Doors that once remained open until midnight now shut before the sun went down. And through it all, the officials remained untouchable, hiding behind government gates, big cars, and empty statements. The final blow came when the local clinic's generator broke during a night of heavy load shedding. A pregnant woman and Thabisang arrived in labor. There were complications. The nurses did everything they could, but without electricity, the equipment failed. The lights flickered and died completely. Her baby never took a breath.
They killed my child, not God, not fate, them.
And he wasn't wrong. It wasn't fate. It was corruption. It wasn't God. It was negligence. It wasn't destiny. It was a system built to kill the poor slowly and without consequence. The community held a vigil. Hundreds gathered with candles, standing outside the clinic, singing sorrowfully. They sang until their voices cracked, not because they expected someone to listen, but because it was the only way to stay human in a world that had forgotten what humanity meant. Every corner of Zithulele carries a story of injustice, a grave that should not exist, a child who should still be alive, a mother who should not be crying every night, a father who should not fear for his daughters, a grandmother waiting for medication that never comes. The suffering is endless because accountability does not exist. Corruption is protected, crime is ignored, humanity is optional. But pain is guaranteed. And still, through all the heartbreak, the people of Zithulele whisper one truth: we were not born to suffer. Someone chose this suffering for us.